right, so I'm live with 52 weeks of Swift, and I'm on optional chaining today. So let's go ahead and get started with this. I'm going to share my screen real quick and talk through some of the material. So I'm going to cover optional chaining, which is a process for querying and calling properties and methods. And in particular, if this contains values, it will be able to uh, really work across the process of there's a nil optional value and gracefully doing something as a result. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to next share the playgrounds interface. Let's go through here, go to here. Okay, so if we take a look here, I've got playgrounds open. We can get started and take a look at what we want to do. The first thing that we'll run is these two classes here. Let's go ahead and tee that up. And you can see here that I've got two classes. And the issue here is that if you create a new instance of the person class, the default is nil because it's optional. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. And we'll go through here and we'll say, let John person. And then we can say, if we go through here and we try let room count John.residence, it says fatal error, unexpectedly found nil because there was an issue here with a runtime error because there's no residence value to unwrap. And so what options chaining does is it provides an alternate way to access the value of number of rooms. And if we go ahead and take a look at this, here we go. This allows us to do that. And we can go through here and run this, and we can see the results, which is right here. And we're able to get this working after we get all this checked in. So let's go ahead and try this. And in this case, we want to move this code down here. There, and let's see here. So this tells Swift to change on the optional residence, retrieve the number of values. I see. So basically, we don't need this, and we don't need this. We can just take a look at this. If let room count equals John.residence, number of rooms. This, I believe. There we go. Unable to retrieve the number of rooms. This handles that edge case for us. And now you can assign a residence. And if we go through here, we can do a residence. And now that it contains a value rather than nil, if you access the number of rooms, it will now return an int that returns the default number of rooms, which is 1. Right. So what's nice about this workflow, it allows us to be defensive about how we're coding things up. And here we go. You can handle both the situation where there is a number of rooms in the residence and in the situation where there is not a number of rooms. And so how would you do more with this? Well, one of the things you can do is we can actually expand on this. So let's go ahead and make a new instance here. And we can say class person var residence. And next up, well, we can't redeclare. So let's go ahead and just start at the beginning here. And if we go through here and we see that can't find residence, let's go ahead and make a residence here. And let's go ahead and do this. So let's throw this up here. So we have a residence class, and now we have a person. Let's see what happens. So I think what we need to do is put some of this code back in here. And what we need is a class residence. Let's go ahead and start this. Let's build this together. That's the original. Here's our new one. There we go. We got that working. Now if I scroll down, I can go here and just tweak this a little bit. And so if I wanted to make a slightly more complex version of this, what I would do is make a big class here that looks like this. Let's go ahead and do this. We've got class resident of our rooms. We have a mutable variable. We have a subscript. We have a get, a setter, a function number of rooms. Does this actually work? So we see residence is ambiguous. So let's get rid of this one. And now let's run it again. That works. Cannot find room in scope. And so what we need to do is define a room. Let's go ahead and do that above. There we go. We have a room. And we have a class for residence. And we're missing address. And we can go ahead and build an address here as well. Let's go ahead and put this above. There we go. And you can see that this has a optional value for building name, optional for building number. And if we run basically all of this code here, we're able to get everything to compile. And so now we can start accessing the properties through optional chaining. So we can say, let John person, and then we can do a conditional. And this should let us basically say here, if the immutable variable room count is set, then we're able to say how many rooms. Otherwise, we're not able to retrieve the number of rooms. If we run this, we can see we're unable to retrieve the number of rooms because it's nil, but we can also set the value. So we can go down here and we can change that and say set value of rooms. And then we can say let some address. That looks good. We can say some building number. That looks good. And then we can do the street here. And then we can do a residence right here. There we go. And now that we've got all this set, we should be able to verify this but in this case, because the residence is still nil, it's still going to fail. And so what we can do is change that by having a create address function. Let's go ahead and do that. And let's change this. So we create a function called create address. This creates an instance of address. It then adds the building number, it adds the street and returns it back. And then when we set the address, we can actually go ahead and call create address. And let's go ahead and do that. Let's actually check this out and let's run it one more time. Let's go here. Let's go back to that. Let's share it again here. And let's take a look. And here we go. Yeah, so I think what we're doing is that this, if let room count in that particular scenario, let's just run everything again. So let's go here and let's compile. And so now we can say, you can tell the create address function isn't called because nothing is printed. And so if we go through here and we say print number of rooms, go here next, other function. And in this case, we see that you cannot find the number of rooms. And so let's go ahead and do this. Let's run this piece of code. Say if John residence dot print number of rooms is not nil, then it was not possible to print the number of rooms. And so I guess in this particular scenario, we need number of rooms here, which I believe is for number of rooms residence, print number of rooms. If we look at residence, we see number of rooms here. So not 100% sure why I'm having a failure here, which isn't surprising. But I guess what I could do next here, if I scroll down to the bottom here, is see if there's a solution I can play around with. So chaining methods with optional. Yeah. So I guess in a nutshell, without trying to debug this too much, because I'm not always going to have a perfect success here, is that the idea with option chaining is to be able to handle these null values. And I guess the reason why this is so important with a language like Swift is that you're going to have to deal with this when you're building user interfaces. So I'm definitely going to play around with this a little bit more when I get some time, but I'm glad I know about this ability to handle nil values and do things conditionally according to them. And I'll look into this a little bit more. All right. See you next week.